Okay, another live. 3 lives in 24 hours, just about. Matt Keeney going to be joining, and this guy is super inspiring, really fires me up. Met him at Soar Next Summer Strong. Multiple businesses that he owns, and he's like a serial entrepreneur. We're going to learn a lot from Matt. Very excited to get him and crush a Instagram live and talk business. He's got a gym. He's got a 7-figure meal prep company just opened up or is in the process of opening up a cafe, but a very unique cafe, one that really focuses on connecting people together, businesses with people, businesses with other businesses. So I'm very excited. I say a lot, I live in a little town with a little downtown and these small businesses, and we've done a lot of events and activities and things to bring people to Manasquan. And whenever they're here, I always say, now go spend money in town, boost the local economy. And ironically, in Manasquan and all these other small towns, they talk so much about shopping local. But a lot of times those local business owners don't support local. They won't even work local. There's no collaboration. They view everybody as kind of like competition. So kind of strange. And we're just going to wait for Matt to hop on board. I actually think I could do an invitation to him here. Let's see, Matt Keeney. And you're listening on, this will go up on my podcast, goes to Apple and Spotify. Videos go up to YouTube and, of course, right here, Instagram Live. So if we don't have, do this. Here we go, Matt. What's up, bro?
What's up, Zach? How you doing?
I'm very pumped to have you. This is my 3rd live in 24 hours.
You are banging them out, dude.
Yeah, man. Very excited to have you. I was kind of giving a little bit of a rundown, saying Matt, you are now almost like a serial entrepreneur. You have the gym, got the meal prep business. You're in the process of opening, or has it already opened, your cafe?
Yeah, it's open, kind of a soft opening. We're going to do a grand opening early December, but yeah, we're selling coffees as we speak.
So you're in the coffee shop right now?
Yeah, I'm at the coffee shop.
Let's I want to give, you and I met at Summer Strong about half a year ago, and I was so blown away with, you were talking about, you went all in on the meal prep business. I think you've got multiple locations of that, and I've been listening to your podcast. It's just very inspiring. But what's interesting, Matt, if I back up behind that, I didn't really know the earlier story. You said when you were in college, you weren't really the hardest worker. You were kind of cheating and slacking, and now you're now like a killer. So what was mental shift that changed everything?
I began to love my goals more than I was willing to accept my pain. I like to tell everybody that my mom, I was a product of my environment. My mom had me at 17 years old. Her mother was divorced. My grandmother couldn't read and write. Zach, I don't know when you began to develop, whenever you got married and had your kids, but I couldn't imagine raising a child at 17. My father had his vices. He worked hard but played hard. He lived by the bottle from Friday to Sunday, so a lot of binge drinking, which led me growing up to a home environment that was unstable. My parents divorced by the time I was in kindergarten, and I never really understood what winning or what working hard looked like. All I saw was the struggle and the pain that my mom had to endure trying to be a single mother. And I then led into that product of my environment and just never really worked hard because I didn't have nothing to model.
It's interesting you talk about that. In New Jersey, I don't know if it's like this in Ohio, but in athletics, a lot of the higher level athletes, they don't even go to a public school anymore. They go to a private school. And I had a conversation with an athlete the other day, and I said, listen, you never have your sneakers. You check your phone every 5 minutes. You skip sets. I go, the reason why a lot of kids, parents take them to private schools is they're afraid if they're around kids like you hold them back. You were talking about your environment. The people around you are like either the shackles that hold you back or they're the rocket fuel to propel you because who you're around is your normal. Who was kind of the first mentor or the place or people you got around that got you into the goal setting and got you fired up to be more of into accomplishing goals rather than excuses?
Yeah, I would say the first one would definitely be my high school football coach. I found through sports, if I scored a couple touchdowns, if I scored a few points on the basketball team, if I was able to bench press 225 the first within my class, people began to accept me. And the good news about sports, it equals the playing field. Friday nights, it doesn't matter what my last name in the jersey is. It doesn't matter where I grew up. If I can go out and have 15 tackles and 3 touchdowns, my name began to travel. So I found through sports and weightlifting, it was an equal playing field. I might not have been the smartest, I might not have had the most money, but by gosh, when I went to school, I began to become accepted and respected due to, and I worked hard, but I just worked hard enough.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, I was extremely gifted, but I just did enough to get by and be the best. I never really tapped into all my potential. But definitely get back to your question. My high school football coach, he would check on me. He knew, he would be the first one to take me to GNC out of his pocket. He was like, hey, Matt, let me get you some protein. He knew I was barely eating, weighing 170 pounds, and I thought I was He-Man. He knew if I wanted to be a high school running back, I needed to be 185, 190, 200 pounds. I never achieved that, but he was also a practitioner. He would get inside the gym and he would lift weights with us. Super big, burly chested. I mean, he could rep out 225 pounds for 30, 40, 50 reps. And he was my He-Man. Not only was he coaching the high school football team, he was building a great camaraderie. We had won 30 or 40 straight games. And I was like, that's the guy who I began to model and want to be like. So my high school football coach.
It's interesting you still talk about him. I said to an athlete today, I go, what's interesting is a lot of the lessons I try to teach the athletes, I know for me, I always say I wasn't the most coachable. I didn't grasp the lessons until I was out of that environment. I think sometimes we're too young, we're too immature, and there's not enough of that kind of coaching advice, and there's too much of like the wrong noise coming out. But I love to hear how many people are inspired by the coaches. So after, you went to college, I know you played some college ball, and then you got into teaching, or did you start teaching, or were you majoring in education?
Yeah, so when I went to college at 18, when I went to college, I was winning because I was the first, student to break that norm to go to college. And not only, I went to Morehead State University in Kentucky. My sophomore year, I began to special teams, began to start a couple games defensively. And so that was abnormal from my small town. But yeah, I majored in education because I didn't know anything else. I was like, I'm just be a ball coach, right? Go get a teaching degree, be a football coach. Took me 7 years, Zach, to get a 4-year degree. I got distracted a lot. So I played 3 years of college football and then transferred back home, which was a terrible idea. Drank beer on the weekends, chased girls, and literally would just live for a good time. If I had $5 in my pocket, I dropped so many college classes just because I was addicted to women. I was addicted to alcohol. I was just addicted to a good time. And my father at that time was a complete addict. He got hooked on some narcotics, the pain medication through the early 2000s. My mom still she's barely surviving. So there's nobody there to tell me, like, I'm winning just because I'm not in jail.
Right.
And then finally I got through college, and I never really taught the first day. I applied for a teaching job, didn't get it, and got a construction job, making $25 an hour, and I thought I made it. That's $52,000 a year. My mom or dad have never probably made $52,000 a year combined. But as I'm working construction with a jackhammer, it was like, man, I'm having talks with Jesus. This is not for me. This is not for me. I wasn't against the hard work, but I just knew that, man, like I didn't want to spend 30 years outside in the heat, outside in the cold. I had too much potential. So yeah, that led me to right now we're about 25, and I got introduced to my wife about 25, and I'll let maybe you follow up from there.
It's interesting, like just hearing how the environment can really hold people back. I've often told people if we didn't get out of the town we grew up in, like I ran into somebody who actually coaches son now, and he grew up there. And when we were rattling off names, we're like, do you know this guy and that girl? Oh, yeah, he died. Oh, he's in jail. Oh, she overdosed. And I always told people it was like a town, sounds like where you were. If you didn't get out, that town would find a way to like do something to you, to not just hold you back, but to stop you from living. So, environment to me, like, is everything. So mid-20s, you meet your now wife. What was I heard on the recent podcast with Dale? What was his CrossFit called?
PSKC CrossFit, Portsmouth Spartan Kettlebell Club. Dale
Yeah.
was my first CrossFit coach. I met him when about 25, 27. And that in between, so I lost the team, right? Just all the NFL players, all the college, you've been around the weight room. I lost that camaraderie and just began to settle for it every day. My first CrossFit workout, humbling. Like, I'm like, yeah, I can, shoulder press 115 pounds. Like, yeah, I can shoulder press 185, but do it for 45 reps per time. I'm pilling the weights. I'm questioning myself. I'm so thankful for CrossFit, man. It taught me how to work hard. And from understanding CrossFit and the consistency of showing up, that's when I began to really want more out of life. I'm like, if I could do 100 deadlifts and 100 burpees and get that feeling of confidence, like if I just apply this to business, if I apply this to a weightlifting streak, a running streak, a lunging streak, like anything is begin to be possible. And I'm sure you read the book, Zach, but I've never read a book my entire life. And a mentor told me, Corey Gregory, Max Effort, Corey. I'm following him one day, and he just would always throw out 4 or 5 books. Hey, if you want to get started, read this book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, super simple read. I'm like, that's the first book I read, and I just got on fire. It's like, you mean to tell me if I just wake up early and exercise or read a couple of chapters, and then it just all started to make sense, man.
I had come across Darren's work in the early 2000s. He had, one of the early days websites. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the Success something. And I remember digging into his work, but the power of consistency and just doing hard things is so, it's just underestimated. People are like, well, it's too basic. It's not fancy. And so when you and I had our first conversation at Summer Strong, when you mentioned your business, you're like, yes, what I did is I watched 6 months of videos of people talking about how they started a meal prep company. And I went like super down the rabbit hole with that. I got to tell you, that conversation fired me up because it's been a long time since I've heard somebody doing that. Meaning, a lot of times, Matt, I feel like people just scroll. They scroll. Everything is 5 seconds, 5 seconds on the phone, 5 seconds to each channel. I almost feel like their life is like that. Like, I'm going to join this gym, but just for a month. I'm not doing 3 months. I'm not doing 12 months. I'm going to go to this whatever football trainer, but we're only going to do 10 sessions. I don't want to commit to anything more than that. But when you were like, bro, I did 6 months and all I did was study it day and night, and that's 4 locations. What was the catalyst there for getting you into this like obsessive kind of full out commitment?
Yeah, once I began to understand the power of self-development, of being able to read books and not to rely on anybody else, when I began to not to rely on somebody else of a paycheck, it made going to bed a little bit more importance. It made waking up of a more importance. I've been about 2.5 years. I gave up alcohol. I wasn't a alcoholic, but I loved to have my 6 or 12 beers on Friday and Saturday night. Even through 2017 to 25, like I have a very successful gym, and I would still drink beer on the weekends. I would work hard, play hard, and have 8 to 12 beers. And I was naive. I felt terrible on Saturday. I wouldn't tell my wife I felt terrible. But then after I realized anytime I upset my wife, it all came back to me having a couple alcoholic beverages. I've never upset my wife whenever I was sober. So once I began to put the alcohol down, my marriage has facilitated and my businesses have facilitated. And to get back to your question, being obsessed, Corey and I talk about this, you probably talk about it. I became obsessed with the barbell from when I was happy to shake your hand and meet you. It's like 2017. I'm following your channel. I'm listening to you from afar. Maybe I never did comment on your stuff, but I'm sure there's people out there that you watch from afar, but you just don't communicate with. You're an 8-hour drive away. I just didn't think I would ever cross paths with you. However, I'm studying from you. I'm studying from Corey. I'm studying from Dell. I just became obsessed, and I built a fitness facility. I applied that same obsession to meal prep. I just say, wake up 2 hours earlier, work 2 hours later, and become obsessed. If you give up 6 months of your life and become obsessed with a skill, a business, you can forever change the directory of your family tree, of your anything. Obsession is super critical if you want to win. I think he was talking about it in a podcast the other day, talking about balance. A lot of new entrepreneurs want balance. They want to own a business, but they also want to go to dinner with their family on Friday night and go to the ball games. I was willing to sacrifice everything. No ball game, the mortgage. When I signed a loan that had Matt Keeney on it, there's no days off. It's on me to pay that. And I think that's the key to success, is whenever you sign the name to the mortgage, to the loan, you're just going to find a way to do it.
Yeah, was talking with a friend of mine. I'm going to visit the Carolinas next week. And I said, I think I just got to pull the trigger on a piece of property. And he's like, that's it. He's like, you think you got to wait for all this like perfect money in the bank, perfect this. He's like, a lot of people came down here. It wasn't like this perfect opportunity, but they pulled the trigger. With Matt, with your multiple businesses and this business being new, what do you think is like one or two of the best business decisions you've made? You have a gym, you have the meal prep with multiple locations. Now, I really love the idea of the Connect Cafe, but do you feel there's like one or two things that you have been a great catalyst in business?
Man, I think sometimes not being very smart in business is a catalyst. So the paralysis by analysis. I always say I'll start and figure it out. Over the past 7 years, I've gotten more educated on the back end of negotiating leases and knowing my strengths, delegation. I'm only as good as my team. So I just read a quote today. My wife actually just sent it to me. Is leadership is whenever you're able to build stairs for future leaders, right? Leadership not at the top. Like my job is to build the stairs for people to grow. But really just understanding what is your total, like what do you think your total nut is in gross overhead, cost of labor, and reverse engineer. What can I do to make sure the bills are paid? And then also, do I think there's any growth in that? That's not a very good answer, but kind of repeat the question if you want me to ask.
Well, I say, like, what do you think is one or two of the best business decisions you've made that was a catalyst for you? And it's funny what you said is not being smart in business. Matt, sometimes or a lot of times I say my training was better when I wasn't as quote unquote smart, because now, we shouldn't do that many sets. It's in season. It's preseason. He has a game tomorrow. She has a tournament this weekend. And we made it too perfect. And I feel like it's sometimes, that's also why I said, I'm going to get off the coaching floor. And my coach is a younger guy, and he's more intense. He's more aggressive. He's not overthinking. I'm trying to make everything perfect. And in business, as you know, perfection does not exist. So, I guess the question is simply, is there one or two things? But I guess you answered it, is like you pulled the trigger without having the perfect plan.
Yeah, Zach, and it comes down to also, experiencing, whenever you experience your worst day. Corey talks about this in his book, The Mindset Manual, and I can't wait for you and I and us to link up in Columbus or wherever. We'll definitely, I was just telling Corey the other day, like, he's my business partner, he's my mentor, my best friend. I can't wait to go to Sornex if you make it down there, but we're going to link
I
up.
will.
And with that, I experienced my worst day when my father passed away in a car accident. That feeling you have, like I talk about it openly because you may have experienced it. Some people hasn't experienced it. And when you understand that we can't take possessions with us, we're only here a limited amount of time. Today's a blessing. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. That's why I'm really happy about getting on events like this. I could get in a car wreck on my way home tonight. People don't like to talk about it, but it's facts.
Yes.
I think we're invincible. We're not invincible. Strength training is going to go on if Zach Evanesh is here or not. This cafe is going to go on if I'm here or not. So I'm not afraid to fail. I came from nothing. I always say, what's the worst can happen? I go back to the trailer. I turned out okay. But I just know I'm a firm believer in faith. I'm a firm believer in God. I know if I provide a service and a value, I think God's always going to take care of me. I like to say things out loud. Some people's like, keep your goals private. I like to say them out loud because it keeps me accountable. Hey, I'm doing it for all of us, not me. And I'm not. And the coolest thing about this whole project, Zach, for the past 5 to 7 years, as I've grew, I don't even know how much money I make really today. Like, that's bad. That's bad business. But what I'm saying is, I'm not chasing a dollar bill. I know why I worked corporate America. I made 6 figures. My life was terrible. When I opened my gym, I made $40,000 a year, and I loved my life. If I wanted to eat steak on Friday, I eat steak on Friday. If I want to go on vacation, I want to go on vacation. My wife and I adjusted our spending habits based on the gym model. And I don't know, man. Like, I'm not chasing money. I'm chasing purpose. I'm chasing passion. I'm chasing to help others. And I just know that God's going to make a way.
I agree. Yesterday, one of my Instagram lives was with Brian Bott. He's in Wisconsin. He's got 7 gyms, opening up an 8th. Like, every year he's opening up another 1 or 2. And he was saying the same thing. Like, we're so focused on changing the lives of the athletes, we don't get too carried away with who's in the group, how many people are in the group, are we marketing those little details. And now that I've kind of stepped away from being on the floor and I look at that stuff, you could get a little disconnected from the people. And there's a saying, for people that own big gyms, they say you have to be okay with not knowing everybody's name anymore. And I'm like, I don't like that. I got to get back into, I don't like being on the floor saying, what's that kid's name? It is the reality of growing things, but I don't want to follow the common reality. Like what you're saying is like, my purpose is like this coffee shop, Connect Cafe. You and I had a little chat back and forth, and I said, what's so interesting is you have it to make connections. And I live in this little town, Matt, and I've had a business here for 13 years. I'm always shocked at all the shop local stickers who don't support local.
Absolutely.
That blows my mind. And with you having a coffee shop and a gym, my vision for the future is having a gym connected to a coffee shop. Like, I love coffee. What are you renting or leasing, or are you going to buy a building? What's the plan with any of that stuff with real estate?
Yeah. So the cool thing about this, I'll show you, is
Sure.
My coffee shop is connected to. This is my retail meal prep facility right here.
Yes.
So customers can walk in and get meal prep. I got Miss Elena right here. She's on the checkout.
Nice.
This is kind of a story wall. So I found this place.
Story wall.
And here in this space was a super awesome previous coffee shop, and they just happened to have some lease negotiations that they wanted to downsize or go elsewhere.
Yep.
So I'm sitting over here loving the vibes, And the building owner comes to me and says, "Hey, I'm going to give you the first opportunity to take this space." I know nothing about coffee. I drink 300 milligrams of caffeine in the morning at 5 a.m. I really don't need a whole bunch more caffeine. But I took a chance on myself of just learning because I kept seeing the connections. And so I just took this on as a 12-month project. That's where I got smart in business is I like, all right, what's the worst case scenario? I lose X amount of money. As long as I can sell 150 cups of coffee, it kind of pays for itself. I may not make a lot of money, but that's my reverse engineering. And then, but what if? I always say, what if? What if I can turn this space into an event venue? So November 14th and 21st, we're going to turn this into a Friday night DJ, comedian, catered dinner where adults can come gather. And it's going to be like mocktail, espresso hour. It's going to be non-alcoholic, which my vibes, because I know there's a subculture out there that you may want to go listen to music, but maybe, you just don't want to be at a bar, right?
Yep.
So I know if it's a need for my wife and I try to build all my meals, if it's a need for me and my wife, it's a need because we're just middle-class Americans. It's a need for a whole bunch of other people. But when I saw this place, one of my first conversations with the building owner, I said, "Are you willing to sell that?" And he was like, "Yeah, anything's for sale." He said, "I don't have to." So I looked at this and I was like, wow, this could be my first legacy play. And I learned this from Corey Gregory. He recently bought an island on a lake, totally revamped it. And he said, I did this for my family name. I'll be well on and gone. And my goal is my kids could come here for reunions and a retreat. I don't really know how this carries on to my kids, but it could be a wealth piece. This building is amazing, multi-million-dollar building. Because there's a couple of other retail shops in here also. It's like a central square hub.
Are you in like what's called a strip plaza?
Just like a square. It's about a 10,000 square foot building that has about 4 retail shops in it. The cafe is about 5,000 square feet. It's like the central hub, and all these little small boutiques play off the coffee shop.
Nice.
And then it has about 10 offices where you could, like a CPA or a therapist could rent a little office. So, but once again, I graduated last in my class, right? I say that I graduated with 75 students. I probably graduated 55th out of 75. As long as I got a 2.5 and can play sports. But man, once I just applied that weightlifting and CrossFit ethic to business, it's real easy to me to read books that I'm passionate about or have a phone call with a CPA whenever he's teaching me things. But for me to be an employee and just clock in and clock out with no purpose, so I say it's a blessing just to have that. And it's not for everybody.
No doubt. Some people are great. Like Gary Vee says, you need to know who you are. You might be a great number 2, where you're the best number 1 employee on the team, but you don't take all the business home with you.
Yeah.
And certainly that probably would have been me in early years when I started and I wanted to coach for somebody, but nobody owned a strength and conditioning facility near me. So I just, did it on my own. What about go ahead.
As we were talking about StoreNext, which is just 6 months ago, and you were talking about a new marketing plan. And so it's kudos to you for you had that thought back in May. Now you're putting it together. And then also being willing to come off the floor. That was probably hard for you because you were the man for 15 years.
Longer.
23. So sorry about that. I know Lehigh, Rutgers, and then your own underground strength.
Yeah.
But get this. On my second year, heading into my third, you've heard this statement before. I'm either working in the business or I'm working on the business.
Correct.
So I just encourage you and myself as I begin to not quit washing dishes, quit cutting chicken, quit baking chicken. I've been able to utilize my strength of shaking hands, saying hi to every person in this coffee shop. I'm not making the coffee.
Yeah.
I'm greeting these customers with a smile and introducing them to myself, and then also sharing stories and that building the connection. So kudos to you for trying to find a different role and continue to work on that.
Yeah, everything in business, I think there's no guarantee. It's there. You're always testing things. and things are changing with this. I love just the title of your business with the Connect Cafe, because I feel like we're missing connection because people are just scrolling through phones, head is down. And so I love going to coffee shops to work. Like right now, I'm in my office, which is in a basement, but I often leave and I go to a coffee shop because I'm just invigorated and inspired with the energy of people around me. I got one more question for you, Matt. Your gym, so your coffee shop and the meal prep company is in what seems like a prominent area. What about your gym? How old is it? Is the location hidden? Is it on a main road? What does that look like?
Yeah, so in 2017 is when I walked away from corporate America, had a government job, and just said, when my dad passed away, I said, I'm going to go what God put in me, lifting weights, get back to my roots, the only thing that made me happy in life. And Zach, started my first gym in a 7x16 box trailer. So I took the CrossFit principles. I
Yep.
thought, what's a low barrier of entry? I go buy a $3,000 box trailer. I put a couple $1,000s. So my first gym was like $5,000. Who can say they started a gym for $5,000? And then I would pull the trailer to a school parking lot. I would pull up my kettlebells. I'd pull out my slam balls, my rubber bells. And I began to train about 50 people after work. I would work 10-hour day, and then I would go train. I would have a 5:30 p.m. class and a 6:30 class. And I did that for an entire summer, and I built up 40 or 50 monthly members. I was charging them $85 a month. So I was like, man, 50 times 85 would be like 4,000 or 5,000. I was like, can I live off this? And then I went and found a rent. I found a garage that was vacant. So I started my first gym in a 3-car garage. Then I outgrew that space and had a guy build to lease. So now I have a 3,500 square foot gym. It's in a small town, 1,800 people, 2 red lights. And that's, so I feel I got capped at about 120 members, just not enough. But what I realized was the only way to make money in that is I had to give up 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. Then I had to give up 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
What do you mean? What do you mean give?
Well, I had to be there, clocked
Yeah.
in. I'm the main coach. I'm the energy. I'm the facilitator.
Right.
Everybody was attracted to that energy. 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., I start to have these little munchkins running around the house in diapers, and they start to get into youth sports. So I never wanted to be the guy that missed. And I tried to hire out, like sub out a coaching staff, and it never was the same. So that's what led me into meal prep and COVID in 2020. I was like, I can be delusional and give up 4 to 7 p.m. the rest of the life if I want to be a gym coach. But that gym is, luckily it's right beside a high school, my high school that I went to. But the kicker with that is, and I think you saw maybe Corey just posted something this weekend, that he gets the least respect from his hometown.
It really hit home for me because I said, dude, this is me. I opened in this town thinking I want to train every kid in this town. I mean, we can't even give it to people in this town.
Funny thing, from the high school, I went and knocked on the door and said, hey, let me be the strength and conditioning coach for free. And they looked at me like I was cross-eyed. Like, not only have I trained 200 or 300 people in the local community, but it fell on deaf ears.
Crazy.
So my coffee shop is 45 minutes away from actually where my residence is. So I wake up and drive every morning. But it's a vibrant town, and I think there's a parable in the Bible I shared just the other day is, you go 20 or 30 miles away from your hometown, and a prophet is respected for their word.
I've heard this.
Yeah, but it's something about the hometown vibes, because you got 2 to 3 generations. You know what I mean? Like if you're in the same hometown, so-and-so's grandpa. They know when you was a rascal. And lastly, Zach, everybody wants you to do good. They just don't want you to do better than them.
It's heartbreaking to say that, like people that lack, you have abundance mentality, lack mentality. But I always say, if our strength and conditioning facility is thriving, it doesn't hurt your business. We've had seminars, certifications where people have come here from out of the country.
Yeah.
So we have brought money in here. And I said right before you hopped on, I said, there's stickers on a lot of the stores that say shop local. I go, they want you to shop local, but they don't like to support local, which is crazy because when there's new places that open up in town, I go there, I buy stuff, then I take photos or video and I post it on our Instagram because I'm trying to get all of us to win together. And I that's like a saying I have, like win together. I don't want to win, kind of like what you're saying. A great leader builds stairs for other leaders. So I'm always shocked at people when they're like, yes, we like when you send people to us, but sending people to you, no thanks. That to me is kind of like not good human stuff, you know?
Yeah, Corey and I was just talking about the other day about, fitness. No, it's okay to say no. That's a good point in your business. Whenever you're able to say no to, in the first meal prep days, I was taking every order, every cater, every team. Now I still fill those texts and calls, and I'm confident in being able to like say respectively, hey, no, I can't take that on because it's going to create a hurdle or hiccup. And when you can say no, that's pretty powerful for your business, because in the beginning we're saying yes to every personal training session and every seminar, just giving our time away.
Yep, I agree. To be able to I also think the multiple streams of income is important. So like your back is never against the wall. Like, oh, I gotta train this person because of my bills. It was a big reason why I have the online business. I wanted the flexibility. What does the gym look like now? Because you during COVID, you opened the meal prep. So is it free? Is it a community thing? What do you make it?
Yeah, no, thanks for asking. I just kind of I took Corey's lead from his old school gym, was private 2 or 3 years ago, and then he just made it private. It was open to the public. Then he made it private, and I hated that. I have conviction sometimes because I know the value if I would be inside the gym, how many people we could get, but also it's like I got to do what's best for my family at this point. So
Mhm.
our gym is semi-private. I don't advertise. We got about 40 or 50 members. My wife runs a after-school kids program at 3 o'clock, so she trains 20 sixth to eighth graders after school. The good
Yep.
news is the school is okay with that. They drop the kids off. My wife is a super fit lady, PE and health. Luckily, God blessed me with an amazing woman. So my son is in sixth grade. My daughter's in fourth grade. So our commitment to the gym is to have it in town until my kids graduate high school. So that's about another 5 to 7 years. It profits a little bit, but my goal is just kind of break even. And whoever chooses to exercise there, know that it's just a safe haven. We keep it clean, respectful, put your stuff up. But yeah, sometimes I coach about 1 hour a week. Here lately I haven't, but I'm in there at 5 a.m. We run a CrossFit class at 5 a.m. and 5:30 p.m.
Hmm.
About 10 to 12 people attend each class. And other than that, it's just 24/7. Come in as you please.
Yeah. When you mentioned CrossFit and having the trailer, I came across CrossFit around '01, '02, and the early days was a one-car garage, one
Yes.
kettlebell, maybe a pair of bumper plates, rings, and a sandbag, and some sort of outdoor equipment like a kayak, a canoe, a mountain bike. And it was all about just the work ethic and the intensity. And it was these simple workouts. It was really cool, like the simplicity behind it. And then when it got complex overall, yeah, it changed. So I just reminded me of kind of what you were talking about with the trailer and even with the business, like keeping it simple, focusing on the purpose. I just love it. I'm very inspired by what you're doing, man. Friggin' awesome.
Zach, you're so math right. Your age, 49, 50.
Yeah,
I
I'm
did the
turning 50 in like uh 5 or 6 weeks or something like that. Crazy.
early December or late
Yeah,
November? Early
December 4th.
December 4th. Wow, 50. Hey, so I'm going to ask you, so
Yeah.
50, what does training look like for you? And have you got away from like dates on the calendar? Like, I think, me from Ohio, kind of following you from afar, like seeing Zach Evanish compete in just say a powerlifting meet or a push pull.
Sure.
Like, what's your goals at 50? Like, I know you still like to deadlift 400 pounds, 500 pounds, but
Yeah.
do you enjoy dates on the calendar, or like what's your threshold?
I don't, right now or for quite a while, I just chase the work. So even when I'm lifting, it's a lot of circuit work. And at Summer Strong, I wanted to deadlift 500, but I actually injured my knee, like training with my daughter, prepping her for college tennis. And it took a very long time to get better. And I always say, like, if I wasn't such a natural freak, like I would have taken peptides and everything to really increase my recovery. So my knee for 6 weeks or 6 months was pretty bothersome. I think I've had 5 surgeries on that right knee, 4 or 5. I can't keep up. So for me, I want to be healthy. I want to lose weight. You even talking about like meal prep, that would be, for me, I'm always prepping for my kids. I'm constantly cooking chicken and rice and all this stuff. But I just chase the work. For me, actually, Matt, training is very therapeutic. So if
Yeah.
I train in the morning, I like to train Monday through Friday, although I sometimes take off one morning. Like today, I didn't lift. I really felt like the need to take a day off. And so when I'm benching, I'm also doing push-ups and military press and pull-aparts and push-downs and maces. So I do it as a circuit. If I'm squatting in between sets, I'm doing sled, back extension, calf raise, jump rope, farmer walk, Bulgarian split squats. So it limits my weight, which for my knee is very good. But if I focus, I could pull 500. If I focus, I could bench probably close to 300. And I've got a lot of injuries from back in the day, but I actually am feeling pretty good. But I could do a better job of setting goals. But in a nutshell, chasing the work, and it's for my mental health.
Sure.
Because I don't exercise, I don't sleep good, and I feel very stressed. But if I do exercise, man, I just feel invigorated by, and from a global view, I really feel like men have to do hard things. They need to be strong. And a lot of men just, after they're done with high school sports, they let it go. And it's interesting, you and I having these conversations, you're listening to Corey. I've found a lot of men, they get like weird when somebody could help them. It's like the ego. Hey, don't coach me. I'll figure it out on my own. I did this in high school 30 years ago. And so I feel like men really need the help, but they're not really the best market for, women are
Yeah.
hungry and men for that.
Yeah, I think men has an ego. We're not to share emotions. Like we're supposed to be
Yes.
hard. If you ask for help, you're not a loser, but you're weak if you ask for help. That's why CrossFit and women. And I don't necessarily I go back to CrossFit roots because I think it did great things for global awareness of the
Yes.
barbell. I mean, just getting gyms all over the country, boxes. Like you said, everybody had a garage gym. So that's good for overall. I don't necessarily agree with the snatches and all that. Yeah, here we go. I'm always good for blacking out at some point during the
So we're
conversation.
talking about kind of like what are my goals, and we're talking
Yeah,
about CrossFit and also with ego. What's interesting is, when Greg Glassman made that comment about George Floyd, all these people de-affiliated. And really what I believe was that people wanted to de-affiliate and they just used it as an excuse, meaning in the early days of CrossFit, there was so much community and
yeah,
togetherness. Then as it went on and people became maybe quote unquote smarter with their training, they were like, I don't need the CrossFit name. I don't want to represent CrossFit. I want to create my own thing. And so I think there's a lot of this in the world of I just want to do my own thing. So, where I believe there's a lot of power in licensing or franchising because there's a system, there's coaching involved, there's community involved. And without those things, I find a lot of businesses struggle or fail. I've had this business since '02, so close to 25 years. Most fitness slash gym businesses, I don't know
oh,
what the stats are. It's like 50% go out of business in the first year, 90% within 5 years. And so, again, if you could drop and relinquish the ego, you will seek out mentors, you will seek out coaching, you will seek out community. And to me, that's why we're doing Underground Strength Con. I felt like there's too much bullshit and there's
Yeah.
not enough real people coming together to share. And why would I want to personally one day open a gym connected to a coffee shop for people to come together to collaborate rather than compete against each other? Collaboration.
Yeah, for sure. That was my first trip to Sorinex. I mean, I was blown away by Bert and his staff, just the way his staff greeted everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 110 degrees. They're working 100-hour weeks, but everybody thoroughly loved to be there. And then you took that back to your hometown, and now you're creating your own experience. I'm creating my own experience in the hometown. You know, Bert and his father just happened to be and I'm sure they got it from somebody else. Like, well,
York, they got it from York. His father grew up in New Jersey and would go to York Barbell, York, PA. They would hold what's called strength picnics, and they would gather the weightlifters, the bodybuilders, and they would put on a performance. And then Bob Hoffman would be selling equipment and protein powders. But all these people would go there, get inspired, make new friends, buy equipment. He would inspire the world to be strong. Matt, you should buy on eBay like a lot, a magazine lot of strength and health from like the 50s and 60s. You'll
yeah.
love it. Very, like, it's where we should be today.
Yeah, I always love whenever you bring back the 70s and 80s magazines and you just share a story. Like, hey, I read this article in 1992. Check it out. So those are always good, Zach. Kudos to you. Hey, I want to tell you the success of your gym. You said in '01, is that when you started?
'02.
'02, okay. '02 to 25, so you said 23 years. I think there's a common thread in here. I don't want if there's somebody watching this, we're looking if somebody's watching this, the common thread is you're chasing the work.
Yes.
Daily, weekly, you have chased the endorphins. You've been chased the sweat. You've been chased the wins, the losses. Had you decided to be a gym owner and not lift the weights, what I'm saying, there is people that own fitness facilities that do not exercise.
Correct.
You chase the work daily. I chase the work daily. Whenever I quit chasing the work at 5 or 6 in the morning, I guarantee you it has a direct correlation that my coffee shop declines, my meal prep declines. Because whenever I go chase the work at 5, 6 a.m., I'm ready to go to work now. And the days that I sleep in or happen to don't chase the work, my days are not as fulfilling because I'm irritable. So it's a drug, man. It's we're addicted to it. It's a drug, but it's a drug that adds value to our days and I'm not taking no pain pill medication. Or do you take any medications, Zach?
Nothing.
No. What is it? I don't know. I don't even know what anxiety medicine is, but there's a lot of people in anxiety medicine right now.
Yeah, and I've always said, same with kids being in schools, is like, you want to cure that. It starts with physical activity, some hard, challenging things, and big time. So, Matt, I don't want to crush your time here. People will be listening. This audio will get pulled to the Strong Life podcast. I will link up your Instagram. What is the town that the coffee shop is in?
Coffee shop is located in Chillicothe, Ohio. It's about 45 minutes south of Columbus. So right where the Arnold Classic is, 45 minutes south. My hometown is Lucasville, Ohio, 1,800 people on the river of the Ohio River. Tri-state, we got Huntington, West Virginia, Portsmouth, Cincinnati, Kentucky right there. So Chillicothe, Ohio, and we're hosting our first Connect Summit in 2026, January 10th. I've linked up with some of the best the best gym owners in Columbus. They're coming down. I got 2 CrossFit Games champions, Graham Holmberg, Shelly Eddington. They're coming down and speaking. Corey Gregory's going to come back and speak of Max Efforts, Old School. And then Dell King. Dell was my first CrossFit coach. He's now partners with Greg Glassman on the MetFix project, the MetFix. And what I think is cool is in a small town where, a town affected by narcotics and no jobs, he's found a way to use the barbell he travels to London, Ukraine, teaching about fitness. So And also, the dude landed a Shark Tank deal, flew out to,
I saw it.
yeah, literally, he just created a cream that helps heal your calluses.
Yeah,
It's called Jack.
that's when I met Dale at Summer Strong, and he had that cream. And also, Dale had like a Netflix documentary.
Yeah, yeah. So, like,
Yeah.
small town.
I will link him up for that. Do you have any last words you want to share with anybody, or a link you want to shout out, Matt?
No, I would just say to anybody out there, whether you're winning, you're losing, you feel like nothing's really going in your favor, like people's watching. People is watching. They're waiting for you to fail. They're waiting to make sure your actions. I say actions over time equals character. Ain't nobody can say Zach Avanish ain't who he is. You've been preaching the word for 24, 25 straight years, and even as you talk about beginning to lift weights in junior high, you are who you say you are. That's why I think your word travels. My son just yesterday at sixth grade, unsolicited, did a bar muscle up. He said, I actually wasn't in the gym, and he said, hey, Mom, watch this. He done a bar muscle up. I haven't really even asked my son to exercise yet because I want it to be his idea versus my idea.
Yes.
I think there's going to be a time that he's going to be like, hey, Dad, let's go lift weights. And then I'm going to be right there waiting for that. But
The best
that
time.
was yesterday was he scored a couple of touchdowns in football. He's made a few baskets in basketball. But when my wife sent me that message, my heart dropped because he just developed a skill that he'll be able to carry on for a lifetime. The basketball is going to go away. The football is going to go away. But you know what can remain consistent? The barbell and the pull-up bar.
Yeah, fitness, health, exercise, and what it does for the mind. I loved when you said you're keeping this gym till your kids finish high school. When I opened my location in this town, my son was 4 and my daughter was 6. So they grew up in the gym. The
Yeah,
office was their quote unquote playroom, but they
yeah,
would always come into the gym. And I now sometimes get to train with my son and daughter. And like you're saying, it is the best times. And so for people listening, always know your kids are watching you. You could tell them to do the exercise, but they will watch you. My son has his own business now for over a year. And when he was a kid, he used to see me doing underground strength show. It's just funny that like now he's got his landscape business and he records it and posts it to social. He knows how to market. And I'm just really impressed seeing it. And he learned it by watching other landscapers on YouTube also.
for sure,
So
man.
I think it's important for people like us to share what we're doing. So Matt, we're going to shut it down. I'm
Yeah,
going to find a way to see you. I don't know. I think I am coming out to Ohio. I don't know when, but I'm very glad we met at Summer Strong. You're just super inspiring to me.
for sure. I think you would be coming in for the football conference or some type
I
of.
think it's a NHSCA State Clinic, National High School Strength Coaches Association. I have to see if we're gonna make that trip, but I like to come out to Ohio. It's an 8-hour drive for me. It's nothing.
Well, if not, I'm putting you up. It's on me.
Yeah,
Like the travels and stays on me. I want you to hang out and
I want to come see what you
anytime I get on the East Coast, I'm going to make it a point to be at your place for a day or two.
love it. All right, my bro. Thank you so much, Matt.
All right, thanks, Zach. Have a good evening.
Later, bro. Talk to you soon.